Hi everyone, and great to be back here with you on day 3 of our design thinking journey.
Yep, you're all doing brilliant. You're doing so well at tackling your problem brief and navigating this process.
It's really great to hear all your ideas and see things uploaded onto the Rise site. So remember, if you've not shared your work yet, then please do get uploading to share that with us, and you can follow the links below to do that.
Also below, you can get involved in the comment section. So we're here to chat to you throughout this broadcast, answer any questions you have, and just hear about what you're up to.
So today we are at define. It's the second part of the double diamond there. And if you have a look back through your introduction, you'll be able to follow along and see that image again to remind yourselves.
Fab. Okay, so to begin with, we're passing over to Shelley. Shelley's head of design here at Manchester Met, you probably remember. And Shelley's going to talk to us a little bit about brainstorming, ideas, and shares her thoughts on where good ideas actually come from. Over to you, Shelley.
So we're going to talk about how to get a good idea and think about where ideas come from. So first off, be inspired. Don't go straight to Google, Wikipedia or Pinterest. Secondly, number 2, do your research. What is currently happening in your field? What is happening in another field? What can you learn from them? How could you apply it to your challenge? Often the most innovative ideas come from when you look outside of your discipline. Number 3, remember, at first, no idea is a bad idea. You never know when you might need it or when that idea becomes relevant. So don't let your inner critic hold you back. When we talk about critical thinking and analysis, we don't mean of yourself. This is not the time to self-edit. Number 4, often an idea is an evolution or a combination of a number of ideas. Listening is as much a skill as talking. Respond to your teammates and bounce ideas off one another. And number 5, eventually you will go on to refine your ideas, but for now, get out, speak to people, don't be shy, look at the world around you, be curious, ask questions, the most important one being, what if?
Thanks, Shelley. Next, we meet up with Jay again. Jaina starts to unpick divergent and convergent thinking in relation to the double diamond. Let's take a look.
Hi, I'm Dr. Jaina, and I am subject lead for Masters in Design Innovation, also a senior lecturer at Manchester School of Art. So let's look at divergent and convergent thinking. Divergent and convergent thinking is the fundamental principle of the double diamond process introduced on day 1. It is a way of broadening your perspective to explore the variety of possibilities, divergent, and a way of synthesizing and focusing on a problem or idea that is key to solving the problem, convergent. Creativity is often associated with divergent thinking, where you actively seek to go beyond convention and think outside the box, thinking like a traveler by turning fresh eyes on your everyday surroundings. In your case, looking at the problem from a different angle. Go outside and observe the environment, place, and people to get inspiration and ideas. Collect and document your ideas, however silly they may sound. Using post-it notes is a really easy way of documenting different ideas. Also, talk to your friends and family to get their thoughts on the issue. Bounce your ideas off with your group members as well. All this adds up to creating original and diverse ideas which you can use to develop innovative solutions. The benefit of convergent thinking is bringing these variety of ideas into focus. This could be done by selecting an idea to develop or by combining different ideas into one final solution. Think about technology that can be used for your idea. It could be a new technology like AI or a metaverse, or it could be a readily available technology adapted differently for your solution. How about the current available infrastructure, for example? Cola Life initiative, which uses the Coca-Cola distribution network to deliver vital medicine to inaccessible rural areas. One thing to bear in mind is to avoid feature creep. And Don Norman explains in his book, Design of Everyday Things, the advice is not to add too many features to overcomplicate the solution. Convergent thinking is also associated with critical thinking, where you apply logic to develop an idea to create a solution that addresses user needs and market or societal demand. Critical thinking is important in any discipline where you analyze the research findings and ideas to optimize the solution for the problem you have identified. Your proposed solution could be an incremental change or radical change. The combination of divergent and convergent thinking provides a way of solving problems creatively and logically at the same time.
Thanks, Jay. Really interesting to consider the idea of thinker as traveller. Yeah, how you take your everyday and your normal and things you haven't noticed and look at those with fresh eyes. Love that.
Yeah, me too. So we're going to head back over to hear from that discussion that we had with Jonathan Ball. If you remember, Jonathan is a really established designer and was actually really instrumental in developing the double diamond methodology that you're using. Jonathan talks about how he thinks when he develops an idea into a plan. Let's go and take a look.
I'm Jonathan, and I just want to share with you how when I've got lots of ideas to prioritise, to consider, I have a very particular method that I like to use to help me sort it out. It works great in a team. It's okay, one of the methods it's okay to use by yourself, but it's a group of you working on a number of ideas. This really helps you sort your thinking out and have quite a robust discussion about what you do next. This is how it works. It's a 2x2. On the bottom axis, it's importance. So with the least important on the left, the most important on the right. And on the vertical axis, it's about difficulty, with the easiest to do at the bottom and the most difficult to do on the left. And when I think about difficulty, it can maybe be a bit abstract, but I tend to think about complexity, costs, the amount of resources that you might want to use, and just smash all those things together and it'll work out all right. But we start with importance. So let's just say you've got 10 ideas and you need to think about them. And as a group, what you need to do is agree which is the least important, which goes on the left of that bottom axis, which is the most important, it goes on the right hand side. And you'll find that you'll have quite an argument sorting out and noodling these to get them in the right order. My rules are they do not overlap. I mean, I'm thinking about it as like sticky notes, post-its. So you've got 10 post-its on this bottom axis, no overlaps, sometimes be a bit of an argument, difficult to do, but you set the order of importance. The importance, not to you, but to the user, the audience, the people you're trying to get to. Once that's set, we then think about the vertical, the difficulty. So we have the same conversation and we're moving the stickies that we've got on the importance axis and we're moving them up to relative difficulty and having a discussion again, quite robust, about how difficult we think it will be to put these things into practice. What you must not do is move across the chart. We've set the order of importance, we don't change it. So no ninja moves across the chart. Oh, this now goes over there. You've set it. You're moving them like they're in a thermometer. We're moving them vertically. Not that difficult to do, very difficult to do. Once you've dealt with all of the stickies, and that's this arbitrary 10 stickies maybe, you've got them set all over the chart, then and it's a 2x2, then a couple of steps to interpret the chart. Number one is working around the 4 quadrants. The bottom right, because it's the most important, we believe, and not so difficult to do. In using management jargon, they're probably high return on investment, the biggest bang for the buck. So it's probably, if we put the effort in there, that the things we're going to get a return from most quickly. On the top right, they're probably longer term, more strategic, the things that are going to be important to us, but possibly further down the line. We need to get them on the go, but maybe not straight away. In the bottom left, we think there's a degree of importance. They're not that difficult to do. They're definitely things to consider seriously and to think about how you'd wrap them into what you're doing. Probably not the place to start immediately. Stick with that high ROI, the bottom right quadrant. The top left, where it's difficult to do and it's not that important, but we have chosen them, then they're probably at the moment nice to haves. They're probably things that we just put to one side for the moment. As we get the other projects on the go, then the nice to haves will slide into our view as other things start to happen. How do we take it a bit further? Well, you'll start to see connections between the stickies, between the projects, and so make those connections on the chart. And what you'll start to see is you'll see a path through the chart, you'll see where the priority is, you'll see where the connections are between the projects, and you're probably able to say, this is what we need to do first, and this is the path we go through the chart to move it forward. So it's called an importance difficulty matrix, importance difficulty, and it comes under the banner of benefits. So you can change the axes to suit all sorts of different requirements, but the way you use the chart, the way you do the method, stick to the rigor I've suggested. Remember, no ninja moves.
Thanks, Jonathan. We're going to hear from Rebecca Ray Evans next. Rebecca works at Snook. You'll remember them from day one. They are a design agency who design viable, sustainable, and fair services with people's real needs at their heart. We heard from her colleagues previously, and today Rebecca is going to look at ways that we consider to evaluate an idea, when it's good or when you put it down, trying to discern that. So let's head over and listen to her now.
Hi, I'm Rebecca Ray Evans and I'm Chief Design Officer at a design and research studio called Snook. And I'm here to talk to you about how to evaluate an idea. I'll cover what to do when you have too many ideas, what happens when a team has different ideas, and how can you make decisions on which ones to move forward with. I'll start with pre-ideas because that will actually help you have better ideas, and that's the whole point of what we're talking about, isn't it? How do you have the right idea? You should have done work before you even get to the ideas phase. This might sound really obvious, but it's surprising how this doesn't happen enough. You need to properly understand the problem that you're trying to solve. For example, you might be starting ideation with the premise of, we need an app to help people register. And you think that your ideation is about making sure that that app is effective. This is a terrible problem statement. We've made a bunch of assumptions here, including that people want to use an app. We can make this better by using the 5 whys, which is a tool that we use in design thinking. And it might go a little bit like this. Why do you need a registration app? Well, we know that people can get proper help if they register, but we know that not everyone registers. But why don't people register? Well, we don't know. Okay, we've very quickly hit a wall there. What was that, 2 whys? So we first need to know why people don't register. Maybe it's because they think it'll cost money, that they don't understand the benefits of registration. Maybe they aren't good at using digital and registration is a massive barrier for them. So you first need to do that research and find out. Okay, so then you'll have a good problem statement. And maybe that new problem statement is people don't understand the benefits of registration. So how might we help them understand those benefits? It might be that there are also other problems as well. So we might need to repeat this process for each of those things that we find out during the research phase. Now, you can have your ideas. And they'll be better ideas because you'll be solving the right problem and you'll understand your users better. Ideally at this phase, the ideation phase, you'll have loads of ideas and don't let that worry you. If you're worried that there's too many ideas, it's really not a good idea to be worried about having too many ideas because you have to have the right idea. And you might have 100 ideas, but the right idea is the 101st idea. The more diverse people that you have in the room having ideas about different things means that you're going to be bringing different perspectives. So more ideas is good. Consider their level of expertise as well and what we call lived experience of the problem. Have they themselves been through this problem? This might help you have a better idea because they'll know more about the problem space. I'm just going to get this out of the way as well. That first idea that you had right at the very beginning that you really, really like, it was rubbish. Throw it in the bin. It was full of assumptions and it was way too obvious. If it was that easy to come up with this idea, someone would have had it already and already implemented it. No, I don't care. I don't want to hear it. Throw it away. Now, what we want to do is keep an eye on risk. So this is like the next step. You've got all these ideas and we're going to kind of roughly assess them for risk. If you're only going to spend a day deciding if this idea is the right idea to move forward, is that enough time that you won't, for example, lose money or kill anyone? I may be being dramatic, but I'll talk more about that later. Now, what will help you figuring out risk? What matters when we think about risk? The first thing is, what do you already know about the subject? So each of these ideas will have loads of question marks around it for you and your team. For example, if one of the ideas was, let's build an app, do you know if the users are going to use the app? Might be a big, big question mark for you. Ideas with loads of question marks will need more work to validate, and they will have more risk associated with them, but also might potentially be more innovative. So that isn't something that immediately needs to go in the bin. The second thing is, are the ideas big ideas or small ideas? Are we talking about designing a new website page, or are we talking about designing a large-scale public policy? Will this cost a lot of money and time to try out, or not really? And the third thing is, who do the ideas affect? Can it potentially cause harm if you don't get it right? For example, a public policy might be much more risky. Or are you just selling soap? That's much less risk. Okay, now, how do we do a first round of prioritization? Just vote. You've already kind of ranked ideas on how many questions you have, you've understood the risk, but there are still a lot of ideas. If you have the right people in the room with you and they've done the initial research and understand all of that research and the users, you should have a good feel for this already. You know what as well? Give people extra votes if they're more important. That sounds awful, but are they an investor? Are they more knowledgeable about the subject? Maybe they get 2 votes and everyone else gets 1. So now we've kind of done our first round of prioritization. You still might have a lot of ideas, but I'd take a couple of them. Take a couple that feel good and start fleshing them out. A really good tip is to work through the idea in a little bit more detail, storyboard them, maybe create a flow diagram of how a user might interact with it. Maybe list potential issues and failings or positives. This will help you work through an idea a little bit more and is kind of a form of what we call prototyping. Sometimes in doing this with an idea, it might just not feel right. With practice, you can kind of start to do this in your head as you're having ideas anyway in the first place, and it can become really quick. It sounds like a long, laborious process, but trust me, it doesn't have to be. And you do learn as you go. Now, the next step is to ask somebody else. So you've got a couple of ideas, you've worked them up, you kind of like them all. But when you're in a team working on a project, sometimes you become blind to it. And a really good exercise to do, we call the red team. It's used in journalism a lot. I think it might be used in the military maybe. But you just get a totally different team to hear your ideas and get them to deliberately pick it apart in a constructive way. A fresh pair of eyes might bring up something obvious, and they might have really critical questions that you might have completely missed along the way. Don't be precious about your ideas. If this exercise spots too many flaws, what do we do with your idea? Put it in the bin. Finally, prototype. We get to proper prototype stage. So before it was kind of just internal thought-provoking prototype kind of stuff, but now we need to actually prototype the risky bits of the idea. Maybe you've actually picked one now and you're like, I'm still not sure about this bit, will that bit work? Take those ideas and you can test them out in real life. You have to do this really safely, and you should have questions still at this stage. So build it out. And when I say build it out, you know, we're talking about ideas. These ideas could be anything. I've mentioned public policy as something. I keep mentioning digital products because that's what I work on a lot. But this idea could be a service, which has nothing to do with digital. So there are different ways of prototyping these, but think about what's a small thing I can test? How can I test this? There's always a way you can prototype something that you want to test. And then actually test it with some real people. This is why I say do it safely, because you don't want to put people at risk by testing something that you're not sure about. I work in the public and social sectors a lot, so I work with charities, I work with people who are generally could be at risk, and I don't want to put them at more risk. So I have to really think about how I test things in the open. You might be doing this with multiple ideas, refining as you go. When we think about design thinking, we call this divergent and convergent thinking. So that means that you diverge, you go really, really big with lots of ideas, and then you keep testing and researching and refining, getting down finally to the right idea. And we're done. That's my thoughts on how to evaluate ideas. Good luck with your idea refinement.
Amazing, thank you, Rebecca. So big ideas, small ideas, what are the implications of our ideas? Who do our ideas affect? It's so interesting, and we hope that this thinking about how to prioritise and rank ideas, or even risk assess an idea, has actually been really useful to you all. Remember to utilise your team and the people who surround you. Think about how you can make decisions effectively and efficiently. You are the good people in the room that Rebecca refers to in her video. Utilise your skills.
Absolutely. Right, that's it from us for today. So thank you everyone. This week has been so interesting so far, and it's exciting for us to see those ideas and problems continue to develop. You are doing a fantastic job and everything's coming along so well. So keep it up. Let's get ready to celebrate with Art School Live tonight, and I believe they've got a show again tomorrow as well, and we will return to enjoy the final broadcast with you tomorrow. So bye for now.
Bye everyone.